brought some of the traditions with them, of course, from old Yankee Stadium, including the defensive roll call. That's Bald Vinny out there in the right field bleachers, getting him ready. As each Yankee is supposed to acknowledge the roll call as the fans come to each player in turn. You can see Swisher saying, hang on a sec, there's a pitch coming. Now I got you. Such a shy guy, that Swisher. Strike three called to get Kinsler to start the game. And there Eric Chavez finally acknowledging the fans.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Straight Shooting with Pistol Pete. Today I have the pleasure to be joined by Vinny Milano, better known as Bald Vinny. Vinny is the former leader of the roll call in the Bleacher Creatures at Yankee Stadium. He also owns his own apparel website, baldvinny.com, where he sells Yankees apparel, T-shirts, hats, pins. And as you can see there, he's wearing his Cheaters shirt, the Houston Astros. We don't know what happened with that. And Vinny made his own Astros T-shirt, and I'm sure it sold pretty well once it first got released after the scandal took place. So I've known you for a while, I think since 2001. My uncle had season tickets starting then, back in the bleachers. So I think that was the first year that I met you. So I was probably 7, 8 years old at that time. For you, when did you start going to the games in the bleachers, and when did the roll call start, and how did it come about?
So I really started sitting out there in like 97-ish. 98 was my first real full, like I went to a lot of games season. And that's just like timing wise, you know, roll call really kicked off in 96. So it was already going by the time I got there. And I love to tell this story because it's kind of funny. Like most things, it starts out of boredom. You know, it was an afternoon game against the White Sox, really sparse attendance, and you always had a rapport with the guys in the outfield. Like we knew right field and center field, they can hear us because they're right there. Right. But it was like, hey, do you think we can get Tino? And everybody started chanting Tino's name. He turned around, and it was like, oh my God, they hear us. Like, they're like trained to ignore everything that goes on. You know, they hear a jeer and whatever. So the fact that we got through, and then once we did that, it went all the way around. And I know there's only one person I know of who has the video. Back then, the Yankees were on MSG, and Al Troutwig actually mentioned something on the post game about it. He's the one who actually dubbed it the roll call.
Wow.
So it was going on by the time I got there. And just a matter of timing, you know, like I was in between jobs at a time and happened to be going to a lot of games, and I'm blessed with being really, really loud. So, yeah, it just happened.
When did it first occur that everyone heard you guys and the roll call kind of went around the entire field? Do you remember the first time that happened?
I remember the first time I was a part of it, you know, and for me, it really felt like – and still I kind of get this feeling even like 1,000 games later that like they're waving to me. You know what I mean? Like you don't get that interaction in any other sport. No basketball player is going to wave to a specific group of, you know, like that. It just doesn't happen. So I feel like we get that interaction, and it's always felt special in that regard to me. And what really set it off was when we started hearing rumors that the players were taking it seriously. When they started making fun of each other for letting it go. You know, there's a very famous story from very early on that Derek Jeter used to make fun of Scott Brocious because Brocious used to milk it, you know, like, and who blames him? Like, who wouldn't want to hear your name being chanted by like 10,000 people? Like, that's got to be cool. But Then it started taking on a life of its own. I credit Johnny Damon for being the first guy with a real like custom roll call response that kind of made it his own, and then it just kind of took off from there.
Very cool. I mean, the roll call, you don't see anything else like that at any event, sporting event, any kind of event you go to, where everyone acknowledges fans. And it's amazing. It was amazing to watch for the first time I was there, just seeing everyone turn around. And then when Johnny Damon, like you said, came in, Swisher with his salute, Giambi with the salute, it kind of really just transformed into something awesome. I want to transition a little bit to the names of the Bleacher Creatures. You have Sheriff Tom, you have Tina the Queen, you have Cowbell, Milton the Cowbell Man. How did, and your name, Bald Vinny, I mean, it's kind of obvious looking at you why the nickname stuck, but did you guys come up with those nicknames yourselves, or you guys kind of gave them to each other?
Well, Sheriff Tom was always Sheriff Tom, right? Sheriff Tom wore a sheriff badge. That was part of our gimmick, you know what I mean? Tina is the queen. She ran the show. She runs the show. She still, you know what I mean? Right. So, like, a lot of these nicknames kind of took a natural shape, I think what really kind of drove it home was when Filip Bondy started writing about us in the Daily News. And we were kind of almost caricatures at that point. We were characters. And it kind of culminated in the book Bleeding Pinstripes that came out in 2004. So I think a lot of all that played into it. And it's fun because when you have a group as big as ours, you have to differentiate people somehow. So you got to give them nicknames. We have a million Johns. There's a million Mikes. We have a very good friend, and I tell this story quite often. We were away out west somewhere. We used to travel quite a bit, and we're in a hotel, and the phone rings, and we like to send John up, and we're all looking at like, who's John? Like, we don't John. Hang up the phone. Phone rings again. Like, yeah, John's here, and we're here in the background. Tell him it's Pops. Pop. I'm like, we only know him as Pops. Like, I didn't even know his name was John. Like, so it's stuff like that where you're like, it was fun, and you kind of adapted to the situation. Like, you needed nicknames because there was just so many people.
And you alluded to it just in that the answer. The answer to the question I asked you about the Bleeding Pinstripes book by Filip Bondy, who wrote for the Daily News, wrote columns about you guys. How did that book kind of maybe transform you guys or elevate you guys to more notoriety before that book? People knew who you were, but did that book kind of elevate you guys?
I'll tell you, for me personally, it helped me a lot because I was on the cover of the book. That was, I don't know who decided that. I don't know where that came from, but that helped me tremendously, especially when it came to the retail of the book. There was a sports publishing company that created it, and I was able to purchase some, but then they went out of business, and they were selling it at like a super discount because they were just trying to clear inventory. And it turned out, like, in the long run, I sold more copies in Barnes & Noble of that book, just off the table on River Avenue. Like, I'm on the cover, I was signing copies. Like, it really helped me be Bald Vinny, you know what I mean? And obviously the next step, the following year, was the reality show, The Ultimate Road Trip, where really I became the guy where the sunglasses happened all the time. That was part of the look, I always wanted to stand out as a very small fish in a very big pond. Yankee universe is huge, man. And there's a lot of players in that universe. And just to try to be something that stood out was the shades and goatee and bald head and, just try to be, like I said, Bald Vinny. And it's very funny. There's not any other Vinnies, right? So it's not like I needed a nickname because I'm the only Vinny. What happened was there used to be two guys named Ray, and one of them was bald, and bald guys look alike. You have goatees and bald head, you all look alike. So he was Bald Ray because you had to tell the two Rays apart, and then it just naturally became Bald Vinny.
And I want to talk about that a little bit. And once again, you segued perfectly into that's my next question.
I'm good at this, man, and I told you.
The Ultimate Road Trip by Yes. You went to every single game that year. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was 162 games. It was the 2005 season. And honestly, it really wasn't that hard. Like, they set up the travel for us. They set up all the hotel and the accommodations for us. It was really just showing up for work every day. So the work was the game, and you had things to do before and after the game. There were some of your responsibilities. The silly stuff I really didn't like, like the duck tours and like playing the games and the scavenger hunts and stuff. That's not really what I want. Like, I'm a baseball. I wanted to go hang out with the players. I thought we were going to do stuff like that. And what's really unique about that reality show that's different from other reality shows, most shoot for 6 months, then it's all done, and then they edit it, and then it airs. We were shooting every week and airing every week. So what's different is there really was no way to create any story arcs. There wasn't any character development. There wasn't, like, I was going through a lot of stuff at that time, relationship-wise, family-wise, business-wise, and they didn't really get to touch on any of that stuff because it was silly games and, because of the quick turnaround. So I really think they could have done it a lot differently. It probably could have been a lot more compelling television. But it was a great experience. I mean, like, dude, who gets to do that? I got to throw out the first pitch at a Yankee playoff game at the end of that year as a cast member of that show. So, incredible stuff. And really, like I said, it really helped create Bald Vinny.
So the old stadium, I know, is so important to you, and you had so many memories there, and I know how much you loved it. One of the coolest things that I thought about the old stadium was the separate entrance that we had to the bleachers. You couldn't go anywhere else. Once you were in the bleacher entrance, you stood there, you cheered, and then you left out the bleacher entrance. You couldn't walk around the stadium like you can now. What were some of your most memorable moments? I know there's so many, but if you could think of one, two big ones that you have.
Honestly, there were so many special moments there, and I think a lot of it is around that, like where we had our own special entrance and everything was ours, and we felt like it was our area. Like, there could be a whole stadium, but we were like our own little universe. And I think one of the real things that led to our fun and great atmosphere was that the tunnels came up and people were in the front, and then you walked up in front of everybody. Now, at the new stadium, you sit down, people come from behind you. They don't see you. We were the spectacles. So somebody coming in late in the second inning, that was, and one of my favorite memories was one of my birthdays out there. We're all hanging out. It's like the middle of the game, and there's a little commotion coming up from between 37 and 39. And there's a guy in a gorilla costume with a big sash that says "Happy Birthday" on it. And I'm like, first of all, where the hell does that ever happen? Second of all, I'm like, oh my God, there better be a stripper under there. And all of a sudden, he starts hitting wrestling poses, right? Macho Man, Hogan, and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Sheriff Tom. And it was one of those like we're a family, we celebrate together, we have fun together, and like, again, where else? Like, what? No other venue's gonna let you come in a mask and a gorilla costume. Like, it was just crazy, and like the fun times we used to have, man. Those memories are priceless.
So the last year at the old stadium was obviously 2008. You had the All-Star game, you had the home run derby. The thing that I remember most about that year, and I was there for it, obviously, was the final game at the old stadium. The final roll call was on ESPN. They broadcasted it, they covered it. How cool was that to be on the last game, you guys would be a focus at the beginning of the game?
Honestly, bro, I'm going to tell you, like, literally any time we get any sort of publicity, or I'm in the paper or on TV, it's the most incredible thing, because we're just Yankee fans, man. You know how it is out there. We like to make noise. We like to be rowdy. We like to have fun. If people can share that with us, that's like the ultimate thing, like when I started sitting out in the bleachers, it was very much, you had to earn your way in, what I mean? Just because you sat out there didn't make you a creature, you had to kind of like prove your worth. And that was kind of hard for our group. It's hard, to grow. It's hard for people to feel inclusive in that type of environment, So I love the fact that we get to bring it to everybody, because we're all fans, man. People are like, what do I got to do to be a Bleacher Creature? You got to be loud, man. You got to love the Yankees. It helps if you hate the Mets and the Red Sox. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a lot to it. So we want to share that love, and we love that people want to come and hang with us. At the new stadium, like the security guards at the top, when I was really involved and still going, we used to create like catchphrases or like passwords, because people would want to come hang out, and like they'd come by shirts like, oh, can we come do roll call? I'm like, look, you got to go to the top, and you see this girl over here, and the password is Albuquerque. And they're like, what? I'm like, no, man, I'm telling you, you go up there and you tell so-and-so, you say the word Albuquerque, she'll let you in. And that's how we used to roll, you know? We would let friends in and people would come hang out. And honestly, I got to thank all the people who used to sit immediately around me, because that's got to be annoying, man. Like, we would come rolling in, or especially when the celebrities would come down, you know, a lot of security, and they roll with their people, and there was a lot of cameras, and the patience of everybody else in the group, you know, that was really instrumental for me, you know, in having any sort of success or being, you know, famous, whatever.
So you guys moved across the street in 2009 when the new stadium opened. The Yankees won the World Series that year. It was a great year, but I don't think it was as easy as people realized for the Creatures. What was the biggest challenge for you guys moving across the street to a brand new ballpark, new seating, kind of different, a little bit different vantage point? What was it like?
Everything's different, you know. The name Creatures came about because we're creatures of habit. You know what I mean? We do the same thing in the same place at the same time all the time. So anytime you disrupt a routine, it's difficult for everybody. You know, before the new season opened, before the new stadium opened, rather, we weren't really sure we were going to be kept together. You know, at the time, you know, we weren't really, I don't want to say like well liked or well, you know, we weren't really felt like part of the family. You know what I mean? We were really haven't crossed that threshold of being like accepted within the Yankee organization, I guess you can say, you know, being invited to events or being invited to participate in things. So that was our number one question mark. So really what happened at that time was Tina, Queen Bee, had brought our seating chart to the Yankees, and they were like, all right. And we were like, wait, what? All right. You know, and like there were some kinks in the very beginning, like they had sold seats that really didn't exist in the new ballpark, and that was just all schematics because they didn't really know like the number of seats and rows and how things kind of laid out or whatever. But the fact that they kept us together, we thought was huge. You know, that was really the first thing, you know, like where we felt like the Yankees actually cared about us, because for a very long time we were like, we don't care if you like us or not. You know what I mean? We're going to do our thing. And, but once you get kind of part of the family, it makes it a lot different. You know, obviously I had the show at that point, but the last season a few of us were invited up. I don't know if you remember, like the second half of the season, there was a countdown ticker in the scoreboard. And after the end of the fifth, you know, and we were invited up to go do that one night and count that down. And like, it kind of blew my mind, you know, like, how are we, you know, like we're finally crossing the curtain, you know, and as a kind of a personality, that's what I always wanted to do for Yankee fans. Like at that time, the team was very old guard, you know, Jeter, Paulie, Bernie, Jorge, you know, those guys were not super accessible. They were kind of very untouchable. And as a fan, if I could help bridge that gap between the fans and the team, I'll be that guy all day, man. I love that stuff.
So you've had plenty of guests when you were the leader of the roll call come out and do the roll call with you. I could go down the list. Sonia Sotomayor, the judge, was amazing. Meredith Marakovitz, Michael Kay, Ryan McDonough. There's so many out there.
Yeah.
You have a favorite that came out there? David Cohn, for example.
A couple of the ones that stand out the most, Justin Tuck, because he's a huge Yankee fan. Like a lot of people, they would come out there and I have to explain what's going on. Tuck came out. He was like, "No, bro, I got it. I know. I'm down." And like that was super cool. One night, you know, we were really big with Swisher. You know, he was our boy. His wife was super cool with us. One night we actually had 3 guests at the same time. It was Joanna Garcia Swisher, Cedric the Entertainer, and Greg Grunberg, who was in Heroes and Felicity. So I had like 3 like Hollywood stars come and hang out with us to do roll call. Like that type of stuff was surreal. It was so much fun, and the fact that like we were like an attraction, like that was awesome.
So you're wearing one of your shirts, like I mentioned in the beginning, the Cheetahs shirt. I'm wearing one of your shirts as well, Cold Power.
Appreciate that. Yep.
Cool. These shirts can be found on baldvinny.com. So nice little plug for you.
Appreciate that.
So when did you first start creating the shirts? When did you get the idea to do it? And how long have you been doing it for?
So I started making shirts like officially making shirts for the Bleacher Creatures and making shirts in general are two different things. I've been involved in silkscreen, honestly, since high school. I took a printing class, and part of that printing class was learning silkscreen. I was the guy in college that used to run through the dorm rooms with bags full of shirts that had your college name on it with Calvin and Hobbes or like Rolling Rock and stuff. So I've always been involved in printing and making apparel. When we were sitting in the bleachers, I felt the need, like we wanted to rep our crew. That was really all it was about, was just repping our group. And my uncle was also in the apparel business, and I reached out to him and we put the order together. And it's kind of funny because back then there were no PDF proofs, you didn't get emails and stuff. And had I done that, the Section 39 or Section 203 shirt would look completely different, because that's not what I wanted. I did not want that stencil look to it. I really wanted it to look like a name and number, Yankee name and number shirt. And at some point, somebody approved that, and I kind of hated it, but I was stuck with them. Like, what am I going to do? And once you put stuff out, that's it. You're everybody. Oh, well, why is mine different from? So it had to be that thing. And in the very, very beginning, I would come into the stadium with 2 big shopping bags with T-shirts, and I would sit in Section 39. And before even like the national anthem, I would sell them out. And then after a couple of days of that, the Yankees came in and they were like, "Look, we don't really want you doing that," which was obviously understandable and very cool. And just kind of progressed into there. And then I, looked into starting my own business and bringing the own equipment into my own basement. And at the time, I was making it in my parents' house and making everything by hand, and taught myself how to do it all, and rest is history, I guess.
You have a favorite T-shirt that you keep PG for this show that you really like more than any other one?
Yeah, my 2 favorites. I have 2 favorites are the Superman Derek Jeter shirt. That was just so visually striking, and I liked carrying that even after he was gone because it made people stop. That one, and then Mariano's last year, I did like a Metallica themed shirt, and I'm a huge Metallica fan. So we did like a baseball goat on it. So I came out with my shirt in like May, right before the season started, April, May. And in the late summer, Metallica released a shirt for the Giants, like they do a San Francisco Giants night. And they kind of like stole my idea. Like they used a goat with a baseball thing. And I was like, this is the best ever. Like I thought it was super, super cool. So yeah, those are my 2 favorite shirts by far.
So you started making masks. Obviously, we're in a crazy time with the pandemic, the coronavirus, making Yankee masks, and they came out fantastic. Everyone seems to really love them. Are you still making them? How many have you sold, and what's the response been?
Honestly, that was something that kind of fell in my lap, and I'm really thankful for it, because like many other people, I'm out of work right now, and that project's kind of keeping me off unemployment. So it's kind of a blessing. It just kind of fell in my lap, and I'm thankful for the response. It was one of those things where at that particular time, it was a very in-demand thing, and I had to bust my ass for 2 weeks, literally 18, 20-hour days, because it's a labor-intensive process. I don't sew. I don't have a sewing machine. I have a commercial embroidery machine, which is very different. So it's a very labor-intensive process, and I kind of didn't realize all the other components that go into it, like cutting all the strings and welding all the ends so they don't fray, and then like trimming and peel. Like at certain points, I had to have my kids come down and help me out because it's just so overwhelming. But again, I'm thankful I can provide a need. Obviously, it gives me something to do. We're all sitting at home, really have nothing to do. It gives me a little bit of sense of purpose. I'm kind of helping people out, and that felt good. And then I was obviously, of course, like when you have all this material, like I can give stuff away, so like there were people that were out of work, people I know that are out of work, like, yo, you just throw you a mask, dude. Like you got to go to shopping or whatever. Like you shouldn't wear a bandana. That's not going to really help. You know what I mean? Like, so anything, again, it just happened to be one of those things that fell in my lap, and I'm happy I was able to help people out. And again, I'm happy I was able to keep food on the table. So yeah.
Very good. I'm glad you got a chance to do that. It seemed like everyone was really loving them posts. I love when the people post the pictures. It got
me too. People tag me and stuff like that. I love that. That's always been my favorite thing, whether it be shirts or these masks or whatever. And because that's how I grow my business. You know what I mean? I'm one guy on a street corner on River Avenue, and that's always been my problem, is being able to expand past that. So I have the online, but like when I advertise something or I come out with a new shirt, it goes only so far. You know, the people who share, we all have the same friends. You know what I mean? Like all your buddies are my buddy. Like we all have mutual friends on Facebook. So it's kind of hard to kind of grow that reach. And the masks were one of those things where there was such a need. Like I had cousins who were ordering that I hadn't heard from in a really long time. And like their friends were, this is my cousin. You should, hit him up. And it was like one of those type of things. So it was super, super helpful.
So the New York Post came out with a very nice article on you. I think it was either Wednesday night. I think it was in Wednesday's paper maybe.
Yesterday's paper, yeah.
Very nice article regarding you and one of the Mets super fans from the 7 line. In there, I read it, the whole thing, but I didn't realize, and I didn't know if this was true or not, but you haven't been back to the stadium since the middle of 2016. Is that correct?
I haven't been to a game. I mean, obviously I go up and I run a t-shirt stand. Like I have a business up there. So I've been to the Bronx. Obviously, if you follow me on Instagram, you see I post like every Sunday morning. That's like my favorite thing because I like being the first guy there. So I'm still there. I'm still around. I'm just not really participating in the record doing that thing right now. It just kind of fell out at the time. And there's other things that were going on. Like I had to get a regular job. Like I don't work there. I don't work for the team. And you could sell T-shirts, have the best stuff and be all set up. But like, if it rains, like I lose a night like that. Like I can't, when you have kids in a mortgage, like you can't really live life like that. You know what I mean? So it was just tough to make it like a full-time job, as much as I wanted it to be, or I would love for it to be. At the time, it just like, I had to look out for my family, I had to work a regular gig and committing. I'm either going to commit or I'm not. I'm not going to be like, I can make it to Wednesday's game and maybe I'll be there on Saturday, or if I get somebody to cover the stand, I'm either going to do it or I'm not. So I wasn't able to swing it for a while. And like, even last year, like I planned to go to opening day. Like the night before, I bought a ticket and it wound up being like snowed out or rained out or something, like it was postponed. Yep. But I had coverage at the stand. Like my buddy Ian, the kid who's worked for me for a really long time. He was coming down from Orange County. Like we were going to make it happen. I was going to go in and rock it, man. But what happens, and it just didn't pan out, So I'm not like against it. I'm not like everything's different now. You know what I mean? The team is completely different. Some of the issues that I had in the past, like those guys are gone, man. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Like I can say, never say never. I've left a million times, and like if I can get my situation correct at the stand, where really business is the most important thing for me now. If we get the business correct, and I can go inside and make some noise, I'm not opposed to it, but like I said, the situation has to be right for everybody,
That's the kind of last question I wanted to leave you off with. Bald Vinny was a fixture at Yankee Stadium for so long, and then late 90s and early 2000s, and then, life gets in the way, and you got to make decisions, and you got to do your own thing. You got to make what's best for your family, kids, and stuff like that. But will there be a time, when will it come a time where you say maybe, hey, I want to get back into this because I miss it and I want to be back out there with, Tina and what some
Let me tell you, bro, honestly, it's like that every day. You know what I mean? Like I run a very different type of business where I am the business. You know what I mean? Like there's no value to my t-shirt company without me there. Bleacher Creature apparel doesn't sell because I'm not that guy. And you know what I mean? Like we used to rock out in the bleachers and then who is that? What's going on? Oh, that's Bald Vinny. You got to check him out on River Avenue after the game. He's got the doping, and like, we don't get that anymore. Like that just simply doesn't happen. I'll tell you 100%, and this is 100% ego driven. I miss being that guy, man. That's fun. That's super fun, man. Getting up on a bench and being able to command a crowd for like 45 seconds and make everybody rock. Like, dude, I like the two extremes. I like when nobody's there, you know what I mean? Because I know I can carry it and I know everybody hears me. And I like when I don't have to do anything, when the crowd just fire, you know what I mean? And people just like, those are the moments you live for, like that's what makes it fun, And that's obviously, I miss that on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Like I think everybody would miss that. But like I said, you never know, man. It doesn't. You never know. You never know.
We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with what's going on right now, so we can't look too far ahead. So, Vinny,
I mean, at this point, like I would go in on Skype at the middle, you know what I mean, on the big jumbotron. We get some guys. We'll do a big Zoom meeting with like 50 dudes, and we'll chant everybody's name. I mean, whatever they want to do, you know, we'll make some noise. We're always down to support our team, and that's kind of been the Bleacher Creature mantra forever. You know, we make fun of a lot of people, but we love our Yankees. You know, we root for the laundry, man. So that's kind of our thing. So hopefully we get to do it again soon.
Yeah, hopefully. I miss seeing your face going to games and seeing your face on River Avenue, stopping by. Always say hello. Always very respectful. And, you know, we've given you business in the past. You know, I have the shirt on here. But, you know, the work you've done, you made my younger life from 7 until now. I mean, you made it so much more fun. I mean,
a lot of you guys are growing up now, and like when you were young back then, you guys are all making me feel super old, man, because you're like, that's impressionable baseball youth time, you know what I mean? Like 7 to 12, 13, 14 years old, you know, like that's when you become a fan. And like for kids to come up to me now that are like 21, 22 years old, like, bro, you don't understand. Like I'm getting goosebumps right now, like just because that's what it means to me. It's like the fans have always been the most supportive of everything I've ever done. They've kept me in business, obviously. But like every time I bounce, you know, like and leave or I try to do something else, the fans are like, bro, come back, please. It's not the same. I would love for the team or the players or like the organization to show that, but to have that love from the fans means more than anything in the world, because they're like, again, they keep everything going. Without any of those people, like none of this would ever exist.
Very cool, man. A pleasure catching up with you. I hope
Cheers,
you
man. Thanks for having me, man.
continue to stay safe. Keep making those T-shirts for us, those masks for us, and baldvinny.com. Go check him out. He's got a whole bunch of great stuff if you don't know already.
Definitely.
And you know, all the best to your family, man.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me on.
Take care.
Be safe, everybody. Peace.